the sense of duty thing, but that's how I am. If somebody's in trouble, I'm going to try to help. So.
No, I agree with you, Jay, and I think when we carry, we have to realize that we do have a duty and a greater responsibility, not just in being cautious, but and having our proper training, but in how using it to help protect people who are innocent. I guess I just want to make the distinction between helping doesn't have to mean helping can have a broader context than just do I draw and start firing myself. It can mean,
Exactly.
well, that's what I do, but what do I do first? Do I first make sure I'm in a position where this is going to be more successful, not to save myself only, but to save the clerk, save other people around. I mean, there's just helping has to be. I guess it really comes down to when you carry, you have to think, what are the outcomes I'm really looking for? I'm not a police officer, so I'm not trying to run down a criminal and hold them at gunpoint for the police necessarily, but I want to make sure that innocent people are not getting hurt.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And what does that mean to say, what are my limitations and what does helping mean? What do I feel my duty to be? And kind of having an idea of not every scenario, but what if that would consist of broadly.
Yeah.
Right.
So now we'll get into what kind of training can you do for a scenario like that? I mean, there's always, retention firing. There's, you're shooting from different positions. There's your, all your tactical training that we go through, shoot, no shoot drills. We go through, reaction fire drills. We go through all this stuff that necessarily, civilians don't necessarily ever do. I mean, they play Call of Duty, and that's about as far as they get into a lot of training.
Right. Yeah.
And
well, you mean that wasn't enough? Oh no.
I mean, it's great for hand-eye coordination.
No, rip off.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, you can lay down and shoot. You can, there's all sorts of things you can do to maximize your effectiveness in any situation, but it has to come down to the training that you receive and how often you practice it.
Mhm. Yep, definitely.
And how often do you practice it realistically? Because it's one thing going into a situation like training where you're prepared and you're fairly calm and you know that you're going to be doing that type of training.
Yeah. Well, I think
no
you have to train
how
until
much...
it's muscle memory.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking outside the box, but I think no matter how much training you get, it never really prepares you for something really big.
See, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is even as a brand new private coming out of Scout OSUT, straight to Baghdad, having all those shooting room scenarios that we went through. The first time I went through a door, which was just shortly after we got there. I'm not gonna lie, the adrenaline was pumping. I was a little shaky. I was like, okay, here I go, trying to go through everything in your head. Positive identification, control pairs, things of that nature. That's something that most people, unfortunately, are never going to really experience until it happens.
It happens,
and that situation always gets worse when your platoon sergeant hands your squad leader a flashbang and doesn't tell you it's a 9-banger, and you toss it down a flight of stairs, and everybody gets banged at the same time.
Wow.
That hurt. Those are the hazards that we go through, though, and then in real world, that's one of those unforeseen scenarios that really could have messed you up if you hadn't been properly trained to muscle memory. Then we probably wouldn't have made it through that one.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, you can train and train and train, and I mean the scenarios, like when you start, you're going basic pistol safety and marksmanship if you're starting with pistols, and you're going basic stuff, and you're shooting and shooting and shooting until you're proficient at hitting known distance targets at 8, 15, or 8, 12, 15, and 20 yards, and then you're moving up, and then you're going to, you know, sit and shoot, lay down and shoot, move and shoot, you know, walk and shoot, run and shoot, you know, run and drop and shoot. I mean, all sorts of crazy scenarios where you're getting your blood pumping and you're still trying to hit, you know, targets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. My fiance said the same thing. He was a Army Ranger, and he said the same thing. You have to shoot from this angle, that angle, this position, that position, and my dad used to pretty much tell me the same thing. But do you think that now it's more advanced than, say, 10, 15 years ago?
What, the training they go through more advanced? I think there's been breakthroughs with, you know, so many of us having a lot of experience in you know, in combat situations. I think there's breakthroughs in training that are going on now. It used to be you go to the range, you stay in there, and you just blast targets, you know, and you know, there was smaller people, you know, smaller companies trying to do the tactical training that they learned, but even that's advanced to, you know, let's add in exploding targets and not tell people where they are.
Okay.
You know, let's scare the holy bejesus out of people while they're training certain situations. That way they know to just keep going with the way they're trained, or to adapt and overcome with the way they're training. So.
Yeah, especially distraction. Distraction is something that's big that a lot of people don't think of when they find themselves in a shooting situation. You know, you said there's 3 people at the gas station. There will be 2 more sitting in the car right outside the door.
Oh,
exactly.
You're always going to be prepared for that distraction and that avenue that you haven't covered, because it will happen.
I would be afraid to accidentally, not realizing it, just having that adrenaline take over and then just possibly shooting, a kid.
Yeah, and that's why you do those shoot no shoot drills. I mean, shoot no shoot isn't just. I mean, it starts basic of you got 2 targets and you got like 4 targets and they're all different colors and you're calling out colors, and you get them comfortable, you know, picking out the colors at distance and shooting the color that you're calling out, you know, and not messing up. And then you add in, okay, do a bunch of push-ups and do it. You know, run a bunch, get your heart rate going, and then do it. You know, and then add in a distractionary target. Call it a color that's not there and see what happens. It all has to do with a whole situational training to prepare people for that. Those unknown situations that are going to arise while you're carrying.
Right. And for the home scenarios, I'll share a tip that I think is pretty helpful, and you know, I can't attest to its real world application because thankfully we haven't experienced one. But my husband and I invested in some airsoft pistols. You know, some nice H&K pistols, so that, they're airsoft, but you know, you can holster them, you can shoot with them, and you know, we've used them to move through, you know, the house and move through scenarios for lines of fire, and you know, that's about as realistic as you're going to get without having, you know, a training house to move through real ammunition. But it does help see, you know, concealability and low light, and so far we've done it without shooting, but at all, and just kind of used it for tactics or for, you know, disarm and retention techniques. But you could definitely, depending on how fragile you know things are in your home, you could definitely use it also with the BBs. Because it's not going to cause major harm, but it is going to give you a more realistic idea of things, obviously with, you know, good protection and everything, but, you know, all the safety measures. But, you know, that's a good tool, especially nowadays when there's not much ammo. We also use, I certainly use it as well for a lot of the, drawing training, drawing from a holster and things like that, or even point shooting, where you really want your muscle memory, and you can do that over and over again in full, and it's a bit more real than a dry fire only.
Yeah, I don't know. I was researching something called an iDryFire. It's an app for iPad. I don't know. I was looking at it. It's you hang it on the wall, and you can use it for many different, quick reaction targeting, all sorts of stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'll invest in it. I know the app is like $15, but then the laser application that goes into your gun itself is actually like $50-$60. So
the thing with the BBs is, the thing with the BBs is that you have somebody shooting back at you. And so you can get an idea of what it's going to be like if you might have, obviously just plastic BBs, but what's it going to be like if somebody's returning fire?
Yeah, you're not shooting
those
a stationary target.
I'm sorry?
Exactly, you're not shooting at just a stationary target.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of, I don't know, I advocate for airsoft pistols while training retention shooting. Home clearance would be another great way to use airsoft guns. Because if you do get hit, you're going to know you got hit. It hurts.
Yeah, I've gotten hit in the face from 2 feet away, so yeah.
Ooh, ow.
Yeah.
Oh,
that was fun.
Oh my God.
I don't recommend storing them next to your home defense gun, though.
No.
You don't grab the wrong one. I mean, it's going to hurt the guy, but it's probably not going to deter anybody.
You don't want to look at that big orange cap on it and say,
oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's some fun. I mean, we can have fun with airsoft guns. I mean, people train tactics with airsoft guns. That's how people get, there's airsoft competitions, just like paintball courses and stuff like that. I'm not big into paintball. To me, it's completely pointless. But to other people, they use it as a great training tool. I mean, the Army's gone to using paintballs. They don't fly the same. They don't do the same thing.
They hurt.
Especially for frozen. Just saying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those are the worst. God.
Yeah. Our drill sergeants thought that'd be entertaining.
I don't know what you're talking about. I had nothing to do with that one.
You weren't my drill sergeant.
No, I wasn't. But we never froze any paintballs. Ever.
Oh, ours did.
So, I don't know, paintball, going out to the paintball course, I think maybe it'd be fun if you're doing like the real scenario courses, but like the closed-in course, fast course or whatever they call it, that's a lot of spray and pray, and I don't think people really get any tactical training out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorites I always found was stress fire, and I found even now being a civilian, I can do that at most outdoor ranges. Where, like Jay said, I can do push-ups, I can do sit-ups, or I could run in place, or even run towards the target and get out of breath, get your sequence, and get out of your comfort bubble, really. And there's one of the training exercises in the Army that I actually thought, wow, this is really useful, especially when I did get downrange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a warning sign. 90 seconds. Well, we're down to the last 90 seconds, so I got to thank Natalie for coming on and putting up with us this week on
thank you so much,
Radio.
Jay. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciated it.
Yes, and congratulations to your son. That's awesome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
thank you,
Claire, thanks for coming in and filling in some shoes. And
thank you.
And
it was a pleasure.
Hey, Travis, thanks for showing up this week.
Hey, I was working my ass off last week.
Well, everybody, make sure you guys tune in next week. We have Mr. Dan Meadows, a.k.a. the Shooting Whisperer, going to be joining us on air. 9 o'clock next Wednesday, as usual. We're doing some more shoot, no shoot scenarios.